The silence before the Calth room was too quiet, Anna. Armas sat on the edge of a faded blue couch in her small Los Angeles apartment. The afternoon sun filtered through the half-closed blinds, laying long golden lines across the dusty wooden floor. Outside, the city moved on, unaware that inside this room, a dream was slowly dying. She held her phone tightly in her hands. Not because she was expecting a call, but because it felt like the only thing connecting her to the world she had once believed she belonged in Hollywood. Acting. Red carpets. Cameras. Interviews. Her dream since she was a little girl back in Cuba. But that dream had become heavy. Too heavy. She stared at a single sheet of paper lying on the coffee table. It was a letter. Short, cold, final. "We appreciate your audition, but the role has been cast." She had read that sentence 3 times before folding the letter, then unfolding it again. She knew the words by heart. They were the same words she had read too many times in too many emails. Too many printed rejections. Too many polite smiles behind casting tables. Her savings were almost gone. The fridge hummed behind her, nearly empty. And the mirror by the door still held a sticky note that said, "You can do this." But could she? Anna closed her eyes and leaned back. Her heart was tired. Her body was tired. Her hope was cracked. Like an old vase someone had dropped and tried to glue back together. She was 28. And she felt older than she should. Not in her face, but in her spirit. A knock came at the door. She flinched, then stood slowly and walked to the door. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Grant, holding a small bag of groceries. "Thought you might like some fruit," the older woman said. "Kindly got them fresh this morning." Anna smiled gently and took the bag. "Thank you, Mrs. Grant. You didn't have to." "You're welcome, dear. Just don't give up, all right?" Anna froze. Had she said something to her? Had she cried too loudly the night before? "Your light's still on most nights," Mrs. Grant said, as if reading her mind. "Just seems like your heart's been heavy. I remember that look." "Had it?" "Myself once." Anna nodded slowly. "I'm just thinking about taking a break. Maybe going home. Maybe acting wasn't for me." Mrs. Grant tilted her head. "Sometimes life waits until we're about to give up, and then it gives us a sin, just one. And that's enough." Anna thanked her again and closed the door. She set the fruit on the counter. She didn't feel hungry. She didn't feel much at all. She picked up her phone again and opened her contacts. There were only a few people she trusted in the industry. One of them was Keanu Reeves. They had met on a set 3 years ago. Small indie film, barely noticed. But during filming, he had treated her like a professional, an equal. Even when others hadn't, he had given her advice, shared lunch with her, once told her she had something rare, a fire that didn't scream, but whispered. She never forgot those words. But they hadn't spoken in almost a year. She didn't want to bother him. He was famous. Kind, yes, but still living in a world she couldn't reach. She typed a message. "Hi, Keanu. I'm sorry to bother you. Just wanted to say thank you for believing in me. It meant more than you know." Then she erased it. No, too desperate. She stood by the window. Soft breeze pushed through the cracks in the glass. Far below, people laughed, cars honked, life moved forward. She sighed and whispered, "Maybe it's time." She pulled out a small suitcase from under her bed. She began folding clothes. She moved slowly, like her body didn't really want to do it, but her mind had already decided. And then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Unknown number? She almost didn't answer. Then she did. "Hello?" Her voice was quiet, Anna. The voice was calm, deep, familiar. Her eyes widened. "Keanu, yeah." "Hey, are you all right?" She sat down, legs weak. I didn't expect to hear from you. I was just thinking about you," he said. "I saw a rough cut of a film from last year. You were incredible in it. Why aren't you everywhere already?" Anna laughed, but it cracked in the middle. "Because no one wants to cast me. I've been rejected too many times." Done. There was silence on the other end. Then Keanu spoke again. "You're not done. You're just in the hard part. Everyone has the hard part." Anna didn't know what to say. "Can I ask you something?" Keanu said, yes. Do you still love it acting? She hesitated. Yes, but it hurts now. That means it's real, he replied. Listen, there's a director, good friend of mine. He's casting something special. I told him about you months ago. He's looking for someone who can carry emotion with their eyes. He asked if I knew anyone, and I said your name. I just didn't call you because I thought you might be busy. Anna couldn't breathe. I'll call him today, Keanu continued. But only if you still want this. She was quiet. Her heart was THUDD. Jane. Double quotes. I want this, she said. Want this? Good, Keanu said. Then let's start over, together. Anna looked at the suitcase. She looked at the folded clothes. Then she looked at the mirror. At the note, you can do this. This time, it felt true. But things wouldn't be so easy. What Anna didn't know was that someone else had already been promised the role and they weren't going to give it up without a fight, even if it meant destroying Anna before she ever got the chance. Shadows behind the curtain. Anna didn't sleep that night. Not because she was anxious, not because she was tired, but because, for the first time in weeks, she felt something powerful rising inside her. Hope. It wasn't loud. It didn't shout. It whispered like the wind in the trees. And that was enough to keep her heart awake all night long. She sat on her bed, her knees pulled up, watching the city lights flicker outside her window. Every so often she would glance at her phone, half wondering if Keanu would call again, half worried. He might not, but the real call came the next morning. Not from Keanu, from a number with no name. Anna picked up, brushing sleep from her voice. Hello? A man's voice responded, confident. Cool. Miss Armas? This is Julian Rayner, casting director for the upcoming project Last Reverie. Keanu Reeves passed your name to me. Anna straightened. Yes, hi, I'm honored. Came highly recommended, he continued. But I don't go off favors. We need talent. Raw, emotional, present. Do you think you can be that? Her mouth went dry, but she answered softly, yes. Good. We have chemistry tests tomorrow. You'll be reading against our male lead. I'll send the details. Don't be late. He hung up. Anna stared at the screen, blinking. Tomorrow, her heart raced. Then dropped. Chemistry test meant she'd be reading against someone already chosen. And that meant someone else already had the part she wanted. This was just a formality. Maybe even a courtesy, because of Keanu still. It was a chance, and that was more than she'd had in months. She spent the day going over old monologues, practicing expressions in front of the mirror, rereading the script excerpt they sent her. The story was raw about grief, love, and healing. It wasn't big budget, but it had heart, and that's what she had too. But behind the curtain, someone was watching. Someone who didn't want Anna to show up tomorrow. Her name was Natalie. Drake, 20-9. Blonde. Famous from a long-running teen series that had ended last year. She was sharp, beautiful, and ruthless in the quietest way. And she had already been told the part in Last Reverie was hers. She had been training for the role for months, even had lunch with the director last week. But when Keanu Reeves stepped in and mentioned Anna, the balance shifted. Natalie's agent called her in a panic. You're still the lead. But they're testing someone else tomorrow. Someone Keanu is pushing. Natalie didn't panic. She smiled. Don't worry, she said. She won't make it past the front gate. The next morning, Anna stood outside the studio gate holding her script. She was early. Nerves buzzed in her chest like tiny trapped bees. A security guard approached. Name, no de armas. I have a chemistry read. He scanned the list on his clipboard, then frowned. You're not on the list? Her stomach dropped. What? She whispered. That can't be right. I spoke to Julian yesterday, he said. Not on the list, the guard repeated firmly. You'll have to call whoever scheduled you. Anna stepped aside and dialed. Julian's number voicemailed again. Voicemail panic crept in. Had she misheard? Had it all been a mistake? Behind the scenes, Natalie's assistant, young pale, silent, stood in the parking lot, holding a coffee tray. He watched as Anna fumbled with her phone, eyes wide. Breath shallow. He didn't smile. He just turned away and walked inside. Natalie waited in the makeup room, humming to herself as stylist brushed her hair. "She's outside," her assistant whispered in her ear. "They won't let her in." Natalie nodded, calm. "Good. By the time anyone figures it out, we'll already be shooting the test scenes." But fate has a way of twisting back, because just then, a black car pulled up outside the studio gate. The driver rolled down the window. It was Keanu. The guard blinked. "Mr. Reeves, I didn't know you were coming." Keanu nodded. "Yeah, I'm just checking in on someone." He looked to his right. Anna stood beside the wall, hugging her bag to her chest, fighting tears. Keanu stepped out of the car. "Anna." She looked up, eyes full of confusion. "They say I'm not on the list," she said quietly. Keanu frowned. "That's not possible." Turned to the guard. "She's reading with me today. She's in." The guard hesitated. But it was Keanu. "Reeves." He opened the gate. Anna followed Keanu inside. Her hands were shaking. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me," Keanu said. "Just show them why I called you." Right inside. Julian was already pacing. "Keanu, hey man, weren't expecting you to personally bring her in." "Apparently someone made sure she couldn't get past the gate," Keanu said, eyes sharp. Julian frowned. "That's strange. Her name should have been on the call sheet." Natalie, seated across the room in full makeup, turned slowly. Her smile was soft. "Anna, I didn't know you were reading today. How exciting." Anna nodded politely. "Hi, Natalie." Keanu looked between them. The air was tense. "Let's start," Julian said. The scene was painful, raw. It was a goodbye. Between two lovers at a train station, set during the aftermath of a war. Heavy emotions, soft pauses, aching silences. Natalie went first. She delivered her lines like a pro-clean rehearsed. Tearful in just the right moments. Then it was Anna's turn. The room was silent. Keanu stood with her, holding the opposite. "Roll," they began. At first, her voice trembled. Her hands were tight, but as she looked into Keanu's eyes, something unlocked. She wasn't acting anymore. She was remembering. Every goodbye she had said in real life, every rejection, every lonely night, every silent prayer. Her voice cracked. Her tears were real. When it ended, no one moved. Julian looked stunned. The director, who had entered quietly mid-scene, wiped the corner of his eye. Natalie sat frozen in her chair. One leg crossed tightly over the other. Anna stepped back. "Thank you," she whispered. Keanu didn't say anything. He just smiled. The director finally spoke. "Let's talk outside." They left the room. Natalie stood and followed, heels clicking. But no one looked at her. 20 minutes later, the casting door opened again. Anna walked out slowly, lips parted in shock. She looked around for Keanu. He was waiting in the hallway. She walked up to him, barely breathing. "They offered me the role," she said. He smiled, gentle and proud. "You earned it." But before she could say anything else, her phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from an unknown number. "Congratulations, but watch your back." "You don't know what you just stepped into?" Anna stared at the screen, and for the first time, fear touched her joy, because someone didn't want her there, and they weren't going to play fair. More than just a screen test, the hallway outside the casting room was cold. Anna sat on a small metal bench, script in hand, trying to calm her breathing. Around her, voices murmured behind doors. Heavy boots tapped across concrete. The air smelled like dust and old coffee. She was trying to be calm, but her heart wasn't listening. The test scene she had just performed with Keanu was still echoing in her head. She had cried for real, not because she meant to, because something inside her cracked open, and it had felt real, powerful, terrifying. The director and casting team had gone into a side room. They said they would talk. Nat had no idea what that meant. Had she done too much? Was it not what they were looking for? Or was she just being humored because Keanu believed in her? She closed her eyes for a moment, and thought about home, about Havana, about warm streets and laughter, and long nights with nothing but dreams to keep her awake. She remembered the small acting school she had begged to attend. She remembered watching American films on old DVD players, pausing scenes just to study the emotions in a face. This was all she had ever wanted. And, now, it felt like it could all disappear again. The door opened. Julian stepped out, his face unreadable. "They want to see you again?" he said. Anna stood up slowly, her legs stiff. "We're not doing another read," Julian added. "They just want to talk." Her hands were cold as she followed him inside. The room was bright, clean. A long table sat in the middle, scattered with coffee cups and notes. The director sat at the end, tapping a pen against his knee. Keanu sat nearby, his hands folded. Anna stood in the center. "Sit down," the director said. She did. He looked at her for a long time. "What you did in that room," he said finally, "was something we haven't seen in a long time." Anna blinked. "Thank you." "No," he said. "Thank you. You reminded me what truth looks like on camera." He looked at the others. Julian nodded slightly. "The role is yours if you want it." Anna froze. For a moment she didn't believe she had heard him right. "Wait, really?" she said quietly. "Yes," the director confirmed. "You're our lead. But I'll be honest with you, it won't be easy. We're shooting on a tight schedule. Small budget. Heavy material. We're not making a blockbuster. We're making something honest. It's going to demand everything you have." Anna's voice shook. "I'll give everything." Keanu smiled. Softly at her, "I told you." And just like that, her life began to shift. The next week moved fast. Anna signed contracts, met the producers, went through costume tests. She moved out of her old apartment and into a small rental closer to the studio. Every day she trained dialect coaching, emotional drills, physical rehearsals. Keanu was there too. Not every day, but often enough. He offered quiet advice, never acting like a mentor, but always showing up when she looked like she needed a hand. "You're going to feel like you're breaking," he told her one night as they sat on the edge of the soundstage. "That's part of it, but the good ones know that breaking isn't the end. It's the start." Anna nodded. She was starting to believe it, but not everyone was. Rumors started before the first full rehearsal. A quiet voice in the hallway. A sarcastic comment near the craft table. "She got the part because of Keanu. She's not ready." Just wanted a pretty face. Anna tried to ignore it, but it chipped at her, bit by bit one day. She overheard a crew member laughing near the equipment cage. "I heard she bombed 3 auditions last year. Now she's a lead." She went into the women's restroom and sat in a stall, breathing slowly, fighting the wave of doubt. But when she came out, she found a note taped to the mirror. It wasn't signed, but it said, "You were chosen. Don't apologize for it." She smiled a little, and she kept going. The first day of filming arrived. Anna stepped onto the set, dressed in costume. The air was tense. Everyone moved quickly. The director barked orders. Cameras rolled. This was real now. Her first scene was short, just a walk through a ruined street, carrying a letter in her hand. But it was everything: the silence, the posture, the way she held the paper like it was her only anchor. The director watched the playback and nodded. Double quotes. "Good. Moving on," Anna exhaled. One scene down, hundreds to go, but someone else wasn't happy. Natalie, she hadn't left the production entirely. The studio had promised her another role smaller. But still in the film, an officer's widow. She wasn't happy about it. But she smiled through her teeth and nodded politely. On set, she kept her distance from Anna, but behind closed doors, she was still working, still whispering, still waiting. She had a plan, and it was just beginning. Later that week, story leaked. Online, small at first, then bigger. The headline read, "Who is Ana de Armas? And why is she starring with Keanu Reeves?" The article questioned her background, listed her past failed projects. It quoted anonymous insiders who claimed she was difficult and unprepared. Anna saw it just before bed. Her chest tightened. Her breathing grew shallow. But then her phone rang. "Keanu, Duddle quote Stan, Twaitness Ty read it. Then forget it. How? She asked. How do I forget people trying to tear me apart before I even start? Keanu was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You don't forget. You get louder. You show them why you're here. Anna didn't sleep much that night, but the next morning, she showed up early to set. She asked for another take of a quiet scene, just so she could go deeper, and the crew noticed the whispers slowed. Some even changed. She's actually really good. Maybe Keanu was right, but deep in the shadows, someone was still angry, and someone was about to cross a line because the next thing that would happen wasn't just a rumor, it was sabotage. The voice behind the curtain. Anna sat alone in the corner of the studio lounge, her phone screen glowing dim in her palm. She had read the message 5 times. Congratulations. But watch your back. You don't know what you just stepped into. Heart beat like a soft drum in her chest, steady but uneasy. She wanted to believe it was just someone messing around. Jealous actor. Someone blowing smoke because they didn't get the part. But something about the message felt personal, targeted, like someone wasn't just mad. Someone wanted her out. Still, she said nothing. Not to Keanu, not to Julian. She had worked too hard, come too far. She wouldn't lose this chance over fear. The next morning, rehearsal began. The set was quiet, dimly lit, like the story they were preparing to bring to life. Every word, every beat, every moment mattered. Keanu was playing the male lead, a soldier, struggling with grief. Anna was cast opposite him, a woman who had survived the war but lost her memory. Their first scene together was heavy. Silent at first, just 2 people trying to find each other through broken pieces, and they did. Every person in the room could feel it, the connection. It wasn't loud, it wasn't forced. It was like watching 2 people meet in another life. When the director called cut, no one clapped. They just stared. Anna blinked and looked at Keanu. Was that okay? Keanu smiled. You didn't act, you became her. She smiled back. But inside, the message still sat like a stone in her stomach. And it wasn't the only strange thing that happened that week. On Wednesday, her script went missing. She searched everywhere: her bag, her trailer, the dressing room. Gone. By Thursday, someone had sent a rumor to a gossip site. Ana de Armas having trouble on set. The headline read, Keanu Reeves forced to carry emotional scenes. The director called her in that evening. I don't believe it, he said, but someone's trying to shake you. Are you okay? She nodded. I'll stay focused. He nodded. Good, 'cause you're doing something special, and some people won't like that. She left the office and stood outside under the night sky, breathing slow. A voice came from behind her. You weren't supposed to get this far? Anna turned. Natalie stood by the fence, arms crossed. What are you talking about? Anna asked. Careful. Natalie stepped closer. I was promised that role. I trained for it. I invested. I even gave up 2 offers. Waiting for this one? Yana didn't reply, but then he called them. Natalie said sharply, Your precious Keanu. And just like that, they looked past me. Anna shook her head. I didn't ask him to do that. Doesn't matter, Natalie said. You're here, and you're in the way. This isn't a competition, Anna replied softly. It's a story. If I'm not the right one, they'll see it. But if I am, you can't stop it. Natalie gave a cold smile. Oh, sweetheart, you still think this business is about talent? Anna didn't say another word. She walked away, slow and steady. But as she reached the corner of the set, she pulled out her phone. She sent a message to Keanu. Can we talk? They met at a small cafe off Melrose. Quiet, dim lighting.
Act away from the eyes of the world.
Keanu arrived early, already sipping tea when she walked in. You okay? He asked. Anna sat down, voice low. I think someone's trying to get me off the project. Keanu leaned forward, calm but alert.
Tell me everything.
She told him about the missing script, the gossip article, the message, and the conversation. With Natalie, he didn't interrupt. He just listened. When she finished, he looked her in the eyes. I've seen this before, he said. Not always this messy. but there's always someone who wants the spotlight all to themselves. What do I do? Anna whispered. You act, he said, better than ever, stronger than before, make it impossible to doubt you. But what if they believe the rumors? Keanu smiled. Then I'll speak louder. The next day, Anna came back with fire in her eyes. She nailed every scene, not just memorized. She felt them, every tear, every laugh, every silence, and people noticed. The crew whispered to each other. The director watched her with new intensity even. Julian, who rarely praised, gave a rare nod of approval after a difficult take. But that night, her trailer was broken in two. Nothing stolen, just trashed, clothes thrown, notes ripped. A framed picture of her parents shattered on the floor. The message was clear, leave. Anna stood outside the door, staring at the mess. And this time, she didn't cry. She called Keanu. They wrecked my trailer, she said, voice calm. He paused. Do you want to stop? She shook her head, even though he couldn't see it. No. I want to finish what I started. Good, he said. And the next morning, showed up with a surprise. A new trailer. Clean. Beautiful. Quiet. It's yours, he said. No one gets in without a code, and it's parked right next to mine. Was stunned. You didn't have to, I did, he replied. 'Cause I believe in you. And if they want to fight dirty, we'll fight by shining brighter. But the shadows behind the curtain weren't done yet, because the biggest scene of the film, the one that would define her entire character, was coming up, and someone had a plan to ruin it. The day the camera didn't leave, the sun rose over Los Angeles, soft and golden, but on the set of Last Reverie, there was tension in the air. Today was the big one, the scene everyone had been waiting for, the emotional climax, the one where Anna's character finally remembered everything she had lost: her family, her past, her pain. She would collapse in Keanu's arms, weeping, and for a moment the war would stop around them. It was the turning point. It was a scene that would define the film. The pressure was heavy. Anna walked onto set with her head held high. Her heart was pounding, but her eyes were steady. She had prepared. She had bled herself into the script. Every line, every breath, every silence, it was real to her now. But someone else had prepared to Natalie. She wasn't in this scene. Her character didn't enter until later. But she still showed up to set, wearing sunglasses and sipping an iced coffee. She leaned against the railing and watched like a hawk. Her lips curled in a faint smile. Anna stepped into her mark. The crew fell silent. The camera rolled. The scene began. Keanu walked toward her, his eyes full of worry. Anna sat on the ground, surrounded by broken props that looked like a war-torn street. Her hands trembled. Her breath caught. Then she whispered the first word of the scene, and her mic cut out. Silence. She paused. The director raised his hand. Cut. The sound team scrambled. Her mic's dead, someone said. Check the connection. Anna stood quietly, trying not to show frustration. They replaced the mic. Started again. Second take, Keanu said his line. Anna responded. Her voice cracked beautifully. Then a loud clank echoed through the set. Something metal had fallen from the catwalk above. Everyone flinched. Cut. The director called again. Anna looked up. Natalie stood there, looking away casually. The third take was worse. The lights flickered mid-scene. The generator stuttered. Then, someone shouted from the hallway that the fire alarm system had been triggered. The entire building had to be cleared. The director was furious. What is happening today? He muttered. Keanu looked at Anna. Someone's pushing too hard. Anna nodded. They're trying to shake me. Keanu touched her shoulder gently. Then don't shake. They waited for an hour. When the crew finally returned, most of them looked tired. Distracted, Anna stood in the corner, breathing deep. This time, when the camera rolled, she locked everything else out. No sound problem. No light issue. No distractions. Just her. She began softly. Her hands reached for the dirt beneath her. Eyes filled slowly. The words came like a flood breaking through a dam. Pain. Love. Memory. Her voice wavered but never cracked. Her chest heaved with grief. Then Keanu walked to her, and she fell into his arms. It wasn't acting, it was surrender. It was everything. She had held back every rejection, every cruel word, every lonely night. It poured out in a single moment, caught on film forever. When the director finally whispered, "Cut," no one moved. Then slowly the room erupted. Crew members clapped. A lighting tech wiped her eyes. The assistant director looked stunned. Julian stepped forward, shaking his head. "I haven't seen something that raw in years." The director walked up to Anna. "We won't shoot it again," he said. "What was it?" Anna breathed out, her knees weak. Keanu handed her a water bottle and whispered, "Told you the camera doesn't lie." But the celebration didn't last long, because that evening, something went viral. A clip 30 seconds long, taken from behind the camera. Shaky phone footage, no audio. Just Anna falling into Keanu's arms, but from the wrong angle, one that made the moment look strange. Too intense, too personal. The headline read, "Are Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas too close off screen?" The article hinted that their relationship was distracting the crew. It suggested favoritism. It claimed others on set were uncomfortable. Anna read it in her trailer. Her stomach dropped. She looked at Keanu, sitting across from her. "This isn't true," she said. Double quotes. "I know," he replied calmly. "But people don't care about truth. They care about clicks." Her phone buzzed again. Messages. Notifications. Questions. The director called her a few minutes later. "Anna," he said, voice serious. "We know this is fake. We're handling it, but studio execs are getting nervous. Should I step away?" she asked quietly. "No," he said quickly. "I don't even think about it. But just be ready. There's a meeting tomorrow morning, and you'll need to defend yourself." Anna sat back, shaken. "Do you think, Natalie?" she whispered. Keanu didn't answer, but in his silence, she saw truth. The next morning, Anna sat in a room with 3 producers, the director Julian, and a studio lawyer. "We've reviewed the footage," one producer said. "It's clear that what's being spread online is misleading. But that doesn't change the perception. And perception can damage. A film. I didn't leak anything," Anna said firmly. "And Keanu and I are professionals. We're here to make something meaningful." Julian leaned forward. "She's telling the truth. I've watched her grow into this role with more dedication than anyone I've worked with in years." Director nodded. "If you ask me, this film needs her. Anyone spreading these lies is the real problem." A silence followed. Then the lawyer said, "We've traced the clip. It came from someone who had access to the set cameras. The footage was downloaded illegally." Keanu raised an eyebrow. "So someone inside the production?" "We believe so," the lawyer said. "And we're narrowing it down." Anna looked around the room. Then she spoke, her voice steady. "Whoever's doing this, they're not just trying to hurt me. They're trying to ruin something beautiful. I won't let them. I'll keep showing up. I'll keep giving everything. And if that makes someone uncomfortable, they're in the wrong business." The producers exchanged looks finally. One of them nodded. "We'll back you," Anna exhaled, relieved. But that night, as she returned to her trailer, another note waited for her, slipped under the door. This one wasn't typed. It was handwritten, scratched in black ink. "Last warning, leave, or we'll make you wish you had." Louder than fear, Anna held the note in her hand. It was short, it was cruel, sharp. But what made her hands tremble wasn't the words. It was the realization that someone had been in her trailer. Again, someone had crossed the final line. Keanu was the first to arrive after she called him. He didn't say anything at first. He just looked at the note, then looked at her. His jaw tightened. "This ends now," he said. Anna nodded. "I'm not leaving." "Good," he replied. "Then we fight." The next morning, a new camera system was installed around the trailers. And on set, motion sensors, access logs, security cards. Keanu paid for it himself. The studio didn't argue. The director called an emergency. Meeting with the entire crew and cast, he stepped onto the main soundstage, his voice strong. "We're telling a story about pain and healing, about love after war. But off camera, something ugly has been happening. Someone here has been trying to sabotage our film, not just the work, but the people. Everyone went quiet. Some eyes flicked toward Anna. Others looked down. We've brought in investigators, he said, and anyone caught will be removed permanently. No second chances. Anna stood at the edge of the stage. She saw Natalie in the back row, his arms folded. Their eyes met. Natalie didn't blink. 3 days passed. Anna kept working. Each scene she filmed went deeper than the last. She cried until her chest ached. She laughed until it hurt. She gave everything. She had, because she knew this was more than a movie now. It was her turning point. The crew began rallying around her. Someone brought her tea. Every morning, the costume designer left her little notes in her wardrobe. A young camera operator told her, "You inspire me." Anna started smiling again, but the storm hadn't passed. On the 4th day, the security cameras caught someone trying to sneak into Anna's trailer late at night. The footage was blurry at first, but as the figure passed under a light, the image became clear. It was Natalie's assistant, the same young man who had followed her everywhere, quiet, unnoticed. He had a set of copied keys and was holding a phone aimed at the dressing area, as if ready to record. He was caught before. He could even open the door. Studio security dragged him into the main office. When asked who put him up to it, he stayed silent. For exactly 10 minutes, then he broke. He told them everything. Natalie had been behind the rumors. The gossip leak, the destroyed trailer, the stolen script. The threatening messages, everything. She wanted Anna gone, and she had. Used her assistant to do it all quietly. "I didn't think it would go this far," the assistant said. She just said she deserved the role. The next morning, Natalie was fired, removed from the cast, her contract terminated. No statements were made publicly. The studio didn't want drama, but on set, everyone knew when Anna arrived for work that day. She found a single yellow rose taped to her trailer door. No name, no note, just the flower. She smiled softly. "Thank you," she whispered, not knowing who had left it, but understanding what it meant. The rest of the film went smoothly. Anna's final scene was one of quiet peace, her character sitting alone. At the end of the war, writing a letter to a man she had once loved.
Ow.
No tears, just stillness, acceptance. And when she finished the take, the entire crew stood up. They clapped for a long time, not for a celebrity, but for a woman who had walked through fire and never stopped. 2 months later, Last Reverie premiered at a small film festival in Colorado. Anna sat beside Keanu in the dark theater, her hands folded in her lap as the movie played. She listened to the audience. They cried, they gasped, they held their breath. And when the final scene faded to black, they clapped a standing ovation. People wiped their eyes. Strangers hugged. After the screening, the director walked up to Anna with tears in his eyes. "You saved this film," he said. "And you reminded me why I started telling stories in the first place." She smiled, overwhelmed. But later that night, she and Keanu stood on a quiet balcony looking up at the stars. "I almost gave up," she whispered. "But you didn't," he said. "No," she replied, "because you made a phone call." He smiled. "No, you made the choice to answer it." She looked out at the night sky. "Do you think people will remember this?" Keanu nodded. "They'll remember the story. They'll remember you. And they'll remember that sometimes." The smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. Anna didn't speak for a moment. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out the sticky note she had saved from her mirror all those weeks. "Go," she unfolded it. It still said, "You can do this." She looked at it, then folded it again, and this time she knew it was true.